New Zealand on 62 for 2, so they lead by 165. Latham's 30. Wagner is 2-0 out, the night watchman, with Ollie Robinson having taken 2 for 8 and bowled really splendidly. That after England were dismissed for 275, and that was a recovery. They were, 140 for 6. They were 203 for 7. A real collapse there in the middle. They lost 3 for 0. And with Root out first ball of the day, caught low down by Taylor at slip for 42. Ollie Pope made 22. He was LBW to Southey. Lawrence, a really poor shot. He won't be watching the highlights on BBC Two this evening. Caught by de Grandhomme, driving outside the off stump off Southey for 0. Bracey also for 0 was bowled by Southey, a ball that just came back a shade, just enough, and ripped out his off stump. That was 140 for 6. Then a stand of 63 between, yes, Ollie Robinson, who's had a really good match. He made 42. That stand with Rory Burns, who's still going strong up at the other end. Robinson fell for 42, Wood for a duck, and Broad for 10. Burns got to his century but needed some luck. He gave a pretty straightforward stumping chance on 77. He was also dropped in the slips on 89, and it was a real struggle. That second 50 took 177 balls, but he got there, and he played a few shots then to reach 132. Rather like Conway in New Zealand's first innings, the opener was the last man out for 132, so that gave New Zealand a lead of 103. Tim Southey took 6 for 43 from 25.1 overs. So it's set up to an extent. New Zealand have a lead of 165. England know what they have to do. They've got to get wickets tomorrow. New Zealand, you'd think if there is going to be a result, Michael Vaughan, that New Zealand have the easier route to that anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult, but I have to say I've loved today. I think it's had pretty much everything. We've had some outstanding batting from Rory Burns. He just hung in there. He had a bit of fortune, but you need that at this level. He was willing to do the hard yards, got the rewards for that. We've seen some outstanding bowling. Many of the bowlers that have been on show today have delivered, but Tim Southey this morning was high class seam bowling, swing bowling, seam bowling. And we've also seen a pitch that's a real good one. I think it's a good one for Test match. But you probably want it to be a little bit quicker. I think it's a good Test match wicket. And we've seen a bit of rubbish as well. We've seen some poor stroke play and some poor decision making.
So, well, it certainly brought the game to life this morning.
You can always rely on England. I always believe that the England Test match team, it's always a good team to follow because they very rarely let you down. They very rarely just give you normal days or boring days. And this morning was very typical of them, and
they can pull a dead game out of the fire.
Yeah,
can't they?
They're good at doing so, but it's a concern. The batting is a concern.
Yeah.
The pitch wasn't doing a great deal; it was doing just enough. And you're looking at particularly someone like Dan Lawrence going out there and playing that drive early. Ollie Pope's technique was questioned. Jeremy was on commentary and described it perfectly the over before about batting an off stump. He's got his pads right in front of all three. The ball come down the slope. Chance you're going to be LBW. Guess what happened? The ball came down the slope. He's LBW. So that concerns me a little bit about Ollie Pope. I think he's a better player than that. I think he's a better player when he's trying to expose himself to more stroke play on the offside. I feel that his bat swing is more geared towards playing on the offside. And I think by batting an off stump, I think it restricts that. He's a good cutter of the ball.
He's more fluency too, surely, doesn't it? I mean, if you're able to score in those areas which he appeared to be very strong when he got that lovely 100 in South Africa. But this is, you would think, quite restrictive of those shots, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you just think of yourself as a bowler, in your time, you wouldn't have minded that, would you? No. A gifted offsided player going over to off stump, so you're nullifying almost a cut shot and those kind of square of the wicket offside to try and work it on the onside, and I don't think that's as natural a side for him. Someone like Jonathan Trott, very natural of hitting it through the onside, and I completely understand when your bat swings like that, you do that, but when you play like Ollie Pope, I don't quite understand why he's doing that. So there's question marks. And James Bracey goes out. He looked all right for a few balls, and all of a sudden the drinks break comes the ball after he's got his stumps being thrown out the ground by a ball that just came up the slopes somewhat. But it's just typical of the England batting that it's taken one individual. I think if they want to go and win big series, particularly overseas, and particularly it's got to be more than individuals. It's got to be a collective. I just don't see at the minute the collective. And that's something that England have got to get better at over the next few Test matches.
I mean, there are a number of players who really missed out there, aren't they? I mean, they had such an opportunity. I mean, go back to Crawley, obviously, earlier on. But what a chance Pope had, and Lawrence had, and Bracey had to get in and play. I mean, there's no question of any time pressure or anything like that. Just go and bat.
It's an era with the Test team that you don't have to do that much to stay in it. You know, you're looking at, you know, the top order. You've got Sibley and Crawley. They are under pressure. You know, they've had poor winters. It was difficult in India. The ball was spinning so much. It wasn't easy. It really wasn't. But you've come back here. You know, Dom Sibley played across a ball that did a bit, but again, it's that technique that we're going to probably look at. Zach Crawley plays a big drive. You know, again, he's come on the back of a poor winter where he's not got too many runs, and he's gifted his wicket again. You know, I just look at the younger player and think, just try and graft, try and be mentally tough enough to not look at the scoreboard and just try and look for time. Test match cricket allows you that time to just bat. It allows you that mentality to go out there and be selfish and just to say to yourself, you know, I'm just going to look at the clock. All right, it's 20 past 11. I'm going to be there at 11:30. Don't even look at the scoreboard. You get to 11:30, you look, I'm going to be there at 22. And just tick off times, not runs. Just tick off by just being, the runs will come. You know, and I think on this wicket this week, it's proven that the batters that have been willing to graft, you know, and just stay in. You know, look at Devon Conway. It wasn't always fluid. He just hung in there. He had a nice game plan. Henry Nicholls, you know, he got a 50. It was ugly. But at test level, you have to be willing to get ugly runs. It's very, very difficult to have a long test match career and every single run is pure, you know, out the middle of the bat and down the ground and through the covers. It just doesn't happen. Look at Joe Root's 40 odd. It was a real graft for him, and he's a world-class performer. You know, Kane Williamson's a great player. He's struggled on this wicket because it's not been easy.
Well, Burns found it hard too. That second 50 of his, and there's a real battle.
So anyone that's had rewards this week with the bat in hand, they've had to work very, very hard. So those players that are in the both sides that are in the dressing room think, oh, I probably went a bit too expansive too soon. Learn from that. To get an opportunity in the second innings or in the second test match, make sure that you learn from your mistakes this week.
Before you go, we've got to talk about Ollie Robinson. I mean, he's got all this going on in the background, and yet he's having a tremendous debut.
Yeah, he looks high class. You know, he's early and he's had a tough week, and understandably, you know, and let's wait to see what happens after the game. Whispers that I may miss the Edgbaston Test match, but one thing is for sure, we'll be seeing him in Test match cricket again. You know, he just looks too good a cricketer. There's a few areas that he obviously needs to learn in terms of his life, but in terms of cricket and the way that he bowls, I just think it makes it look very easy. You know, he's got Jimmy Anderson at the other end, who is arguably England's greatest ever seen bowler. And I would say in the spell that we've just seen, Ollie Robinson got more out of the surface than Jimmy Anderson, and that is a great sign for England that they've got a bowler that looks like he comes over the top, he hits the seam. You look to, you know, could he bowl well in Australia at that height? You'd say possibly he's got a great chance of doing so, and I would think he'll probably miss next week, and I think we'll be seeing him again in the Indian series.
What about his batting too? I mean, that was a bit of a surprise, yeah.
I mean, you look at debuts, I guess you've seen a lot more than me, but you know, I look at Straussy when he got 100 here, Alistair Cook in India, Matthew Pryor getting his 100 on his debut. As a bowling kind of all-rounder, I would put that right up there with as good a debut I've seen from an England bowler for a long, long time, because you know, the pitch has just offered a little bit, but again, you've had to have skill, you've had to have discipline, you've had to have that oomph in your action. And I just like the way that he's made it look very, very simple under the pressure zone of what he's been under. He's certainly got some character.
Lights, camera, action down there, Michael. You better go and get yourself sorted out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for your company today. Turning to my left, there's Jeremy Cody, looking thoughtful. He's got lots of notes, and I mean, you still, I mean, New Zealand still do have a chance here, don't they? Especially the way that England have batted.
Yes, they've had to work pretty hard this afternoon, Jonathan, haven't
Yes,
they?
they have.
I mean, there's been some very good bowling. I think Michael might have just played the pitch, you know, saying it's a good test pitch. I think there's actually more in this pitch than
I'd
we
agree
think,
with you.
and I think
It's quite tricky.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think it's been up and down, especially with the new ball.
More luck today for England, and they could have been 5 down easily, I thought.
Yeah, that's
So much playing and missing and uneven bounce.
Yes, I think so. I think, you know, as far as New Zealand were concerned today, it was a good start, clearly. And then we saw some very nice, experienced swing bowling. In the first part of their innings, before the rain arrived, Southey wasn't getting too much swing, and so he had to use the wrist and seam the ball. Then today he found it could swing a bit. And then we saw him using the crease. We saw him changing sides each side of the umpire, using all those skills that he has throwing one a little bit wider, and that got him 2 wickets, didn't it?
Yep.
So, I just think we saw an experienced bowler who knows his game, and he was able to put it into action. So 6 wickets for him.
He's a beautiful bowler.
He's a nice bowler,
Yeah,
yes
he
he
is,
is.
yeah.
And he's a little bit like Anderson in the sense that he's getting a little older,
Yeah.
and people are starting to question, should he be there now? And his last 3 or 4 years has been extremely good. He's had 5 wickets a test, for the last 2 or 3 years. So he's done that's Richard Hadley stuff. So that's very good. I thought Jameson had his moments throughout that session as well, and they bowled quite well together in the sense that while Southey was doing the business from the pavilion end, you had Colin de Grandhomme going 13 overs for 15.
Yes.
So they were kind of working nicely together. So that was nice.
Let's hear from Rory Burns. I'm just going to drop you for a second. We can hear from Rory Burns now. Jeremy, talking to Henry Moran.
Test hundreds are special things. Are they even more special here?
Yeah. It's obviously when you walk in that dressing room and you see the board and those sort of things. So, I was looking at it a couple of days out from the game and thinking, could I get on there? And it's nice to get up there.
Who were you waving to in the crowd when you were celebrating that 100?
My wife and my daughter. They were here on Thursday and they were here today. So they were missing yesterday. Unfortunately, my dad's eldest brother and best mate missed out yesterday from seeing any cricket. So, I think the daughters might be a good omen.
In terms of the innings itself, was it a battle out there? Was it? It looked easier once you'd got the 3 figures. How tough was it out there?
Yeah, it was really tough. I think they bowled really well. I thought I actually had a really good tempo on Thursday, and I was moving quite fluently and quite nicely. And then towards the back end of that day, they dried me up a little bit, and they came in with the same plan today. Like I say, I almost wanted to bowl at other people in the order rather than bowl at me, and almost try and make me make a mistake. So that's credit to New Zealand. But yeah, as I said, I think the sort of game situation dictated that I get a little bit more fluent towards the back end there, and partnership with Jim was quite a nice one.
When the wickets were falling in the middle order, what were you saying to batsmen coming out to join you?
Oh, just the usual information, pitch conditions and what the bowlers are trying to do, and so the guys can make their best plans moving forward. Just trying to keep the guys calm. It's generally quite a relaxed atmosphere when I'm at the crease anyway. So just that really.
You'll know how big the next 12 months is. How satisfying is it for you to have got that score at the start of it, and know that you've shown the England management and your teammates exactly what you can do?
I think it's nice. Obviously, being left out the last couple in India, it's not a nice thing when you've been playing. But to come back and obviously the next opportunity that you get given to try and take that, it's really pleasing, and I'm really satisfied with 100.
It feels like the missed day yesterday will limit the opportunity for either side to win this game. What's the talk in the dressing room and out there in the middle in terms of what England can do to force some sort of positive result?
I think it's just more of the same of that. I think we've bowled really well tonight. Probably could have had a couple more wickets there as well. Third innings is a tricky one for New Zealand to try and pace. They're obviously ahead in the game currently, so it's probably on them to make the moves. If we get something to chase or something that we have to bat out, then that's game situation dictated again to us. But they're probably just edging it at the minute.
What are your plans for this evening to celebrate?
Take my sparks off. I think that'll be quite enjoyable at some stage.
Well played. Pleasure to watch you
Cheers,
today, Rory.
thanks
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, he's out there a long time. 132 is an unusual player, isn't he?
Yes, he is. But I agreed with what he said. He got the good pace early on in that innings, had to struggle today, and then opened out after. So, yeah, he looked much better than I remember.
Yeah. Nailed on for a draw, or could there still be a surprise tomorrow?
New Zealand are not going to make it easy. I don't think they should. They'll don't want to get bowled out at this stage. But 290, 300.
And see how they go.
See it go. Yeah.